Nicholas on Frog, right?
Yes, he's on
the
Froculus.
Froculus
Yeah.
player.
And
Froculus.
then Boros Energy for Robert.
Classic matchup here. Robert. Boros Energy. The deck that just can't go away.
No.
They just can't kill this deck.
So we have some super spicy ones in this Boros Energy list.
yeah.
So we have 2 of the new Voice of Victory from Cons.
Yes. Okay.
I think that's become a staple as a 2 of in the deck
It
right
has.
now.
I feel like people are kind
Yeah.
of we're kind of wishy-washy at first.
Yeah.
But they've come around. They've come around.
I think as a 2-drop, it's just super effective at what it does.
Yes.
It fuels Goblin Bombardment. It fuels City's Blessing with Ocelot Pride.
Yes.
And Thraben Charm gets significantly better during combat when you attack.
Yeah.
Just overall fantastic.
Obviously, started with like
Yeah.
Guide of Souls, extra energy triggers.
Absolutely.
It does weird things with Ocelot Pride.
Yeah.
You have the City's Blessing.
Yeah.
Like.
So we have 2 of those, but here we have 3 spicy 1-ups.
Okay.
We have Fable the Mirror Breaker. That's generally there. The list only runs 2 Season Pyromancer.
Yeah.
But then we have 1 Philia.
Oh, interesting.
Then we have 1 Lightning, Army of 1.
Ooh.
Lightning's
I like
in.
Army of One. I've
Lightning's
seen people
in.
talking about it where because
Yeah.
it has first strike,
If it deals
it
combat damage to a
doubles the rest
player,
of your damage.
so yeah, if it deals combat damage to a player when it has first strike trample,
and lifelink, I think.
yes, yeah, doesn't
Then-
always make
Yeah,
relevancy.
then they
but
take
yeah.
double damage until your next turn.
Yeah.
So because it has first strike and the way that combat steps work,
Yes.
she gets first, and then the
Yeah.
rest of your board deals double damage.
Yeah.
Which is very sick.
And your Flip It Johnny deals double damage.
Yeah. And your bombardment.
Yeah.
Then once you throw your board, it deals 2 damage.
Yeah.
First, so all your guys become shocked.
So Lightning Army 1, here we are making our way to the 3-1 bracket, and then
So
same
only
with
one
Dimir
copy, so
Oculus.
hopefully it
Yeah.
does something.
So far we've just seen an Ocelot Pride attack.
Yeah.
Combat go through, no fatal push from the opponent's side, or dismember. I don't think there is dismember in this list. No, there isn't. Okay. So we only have 4 fatal push in the main. That's all the spot removal we have. We don't have anything else.
For fatal push for the Froculus deck. Damn.
And here's a Johnny.
So Nick is gonna have to ride off of some counter spelling
yeah,
here.
he's gonna have to kill a Johnny before he has to kill any other cat now.
All right. So no spell snare, unfortunately. And I mean, like,
So there's no spell snare and there's no fatal push. What was in the hand?
it's funny. So like, I want to say that this is a pretty nightmare opener from Boros Energy here, but I feel like all their openers are pretty nightmare fuel. Like,
I think the worst is obviously God of Souls, Ocelot.
Yeah.
I think that one's actually the
that one's
nightmare.
pretty bad. Yeah.
It's like, oh, I have 8 permanents now. I'll have City's
Whoops.
Blessing next turn. Yeah.
It's like, oh, 2 counters flying.
So there has to be a Consider or a Thought Scour here to be able to reanimate with Unearth and turn the tide of this entire board state.
Yeah.
So if we don't have it now, now there's a push. Yeah, I don't think it's correct. I would have killed the Ocelot Pride.
Yeah.
That's all right. I would have killed the Pride only out of like principle of being like, I need to stop this card from accumulating even more board space. Because even though there's an Ajani there the next turn, if you just took 2 from the 2/1 Wild Cat token, it's not that big of a deal. Like if you just like play Psychic Frog here, right?
Yeah. A Johnny
Yeah.
really is only scary with other cards.
Yeah, like if the bombardment resolves, then we're in problematic territory. But you've just given the bombardment 2 more cards to fuel, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's a little bit weird, a weird dynamic, but yeah, let's see how Nicholas pilots his way out of this cat attack here.
There's Frog.
Yeah, that had to be in the opener. If it wasn't there, then there was no keep here,
Live
right?
keep his hand, yeah.
Minimal interaction, limited interaction of that minimal interaction, and then it has to be Psychic Frog to follow up. It does look like Nicholas drew an Oculus there, so the Oculus may be able to get reanimated next turn. But yeah, this is the Raven Charm for here. Like, this Frog's done. So this is where you discard
you
Oculus.
Can't discard your whole hand, right?
Yeah, you have to discard Oculus here, and you have to hope for the Unearth off the top. I don't think there's a second choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, discard an Oculus, down Frog. There you go.
Uh-huh.
Swing for 4, you're at 10. Now your opponent's going to
I'm
accumulate
still
more board
amazed how
state.
fast energy is. Like,
Yeah.
The deck is so fast.
Yeah. Fetch Shock Fetch sort of helped Robert on this side of things,
Yeah.
but yeah, we need Unearth. We need Unearth or land second Oculus.
Yeah.
Fetch land. Fatal Push isn't going to get you out of this mess. There we go. Here's Thought Scour. Let's go. Force and Dark Slick Shores doesn't look effective. Let's see what else we get.
I think that was another Dark Slick Shores you drew. Double Dark Slick Shores.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
You still got to show us something.
No, actually. Well, I guess I did lose it for a long time, but it keeps coming back.
Right. We're already past the point where Counterspell doesn't really do anything now.
Right.
You have to, like, interact with the board.
Yeah, the board state has to matter now, yeah. But it looks like the end of turn surveil is happening. Bin's discharge, smart choice, keep pumping. You're going for damage. Yeah, Robert's got this now. He's in the driver's seat.
Oh, yeah.
This would be a perfect situation for Lightning.
Yeah, Arena Glory Lightning here would be
Yeah.
disgusting. But, nope, just another 5 damage here.
The other push was found.
Pushes Pride.
Taking
all right.
Ocelot down to 6.
Still not great.
Yeah. Flage down to 3.
Ooh.
I don't think we're exactly updating life totals on the
There we
device,
go,
but
yeah.
yeah, there you go. Land go. That's a flashback Flage for the win.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what's in his deck list that saves him here. Because he has to basically wipe the board and stop the Flage flashback, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's too many... You don't have the resources to do all that.
Yeah, Spell Pierce didn't look like the draw
Nope.
that we needed, yeah. Would have been good when there was a Thraben Charm on top of Frog, but not here. Yeah, okay. So,
Done. Easy.
I have to say, out of my experience out of both of these decks, the Boros is very favored.
Yes.
But when the match goes the Oculus way, you would think otherwise, if that makes any sense. It's like, if your
Yes,
answers
yes.
start lining up, it's like, okay, I got a Fatal Push on the guy, so I have a
throw
Spell
Fatal
Stare for a
Push,
Johnny.
and then, yeah,
it's like,
Spell
okay,
Stare, Counterspell for
it's
the
like,
next
it's like,
thing.
oh, I have no board state after 3 turns, game's over, right?
yes.
That's what Oculus has to promote here.
Yes.
But if that deck cannot provide that situation, it just gets incredibly tough.
Yes.
Harbinger of the Seas out. They have to come out. I would
Yeah,
trim one
too
Murktide,
slow.
Force Negation out, Spell
Out.
Pierce out, Thoughtseize
Yeah.
out. All gone. All
Yeah.
these things have to leave. They have to be removed from the deck, and we need to start coming up with a lot more consistent engines here.
And the hard part is that not a whole lot in the sideboard to deal with. Like, I guess he
Yeah.
brings in Trespasser.
Trespasser, Orcish Bowmasters,
Deluge,
Toxic Deluge, and then like
Triumph?
I would put in 1 or 2 Triumph just based on whatever my preferences were at that
Yeah.
point. But yeah, this has to like
Right, 'cause, like-
speed has to be increased considerably. And the
Yeah.
problem is that like even after we spoke, Counterspell is still in the deck, and that's horrible. The card's horrible in this matchup, but like you
I mean,
need
against
it.
like with mono 1-drops.
Yes,
it's
yeah.
bad.
But you still need it. Like
Yeah.
you still need it to be able to stabilize once you've established a proper board state to deal with anything that
Or
comes
if you
your way.
remove their board and like, hey, escape Flage time. Like
Yes.
with Arena Glory, like you gotta have Counterspell.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing else will help you in that situation.
No. Yeah. Energy. It's a deck that asks your opponent a lot of questions, and so you got to have a lot of answers. And if you don't, it wins.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty de facto aggro deck.
Yeah, it's a very safe
Right.
pick for a large tournament.
It is. Like I would honestly equate Boros Energy to Bird. It's like the new Bird. It's just more resilient. It plays a better long game. It deals damage just as fast. It just does it on the board rather than on the stack,
Yeah, I could see that.
right?
Yeah.
Because like normally it plays burn anymore, but you know the cards that would be good against burn, you're probably playing against energy anyway, right? You want
What would it take for Burn to come back?
price of progress. Is that good enough? Price?
So you would convert the deck to mono red?
Yeah. I mean, it's only white for like some sideboard cards like Boros Charm, right?
I could see that.
So mono red, you play Place of Progress. You know, either that or you just like the hard part. I think also is that
What if it was Price of Progress with a damage cap? Like you can't deal more
Yeah.
than 6 or something. Like
Up to
because like
this
2
many?
mana deal 6 is
what if
insane.
what if it was
2 mana deal 8 would be beyond what this format can handle.
Yeah, what if it's Price of Progress, like, but like domain, like it checks your opponent's domain or something.
Then it wouldn't do
Like-
anything against
like,
Tron.
Like reverse, yeah. I don't know.
I think it's just Price of Progress with a damage cap.
Maybe up to 6 or something.
Yeah.
Max of 6.
I just I would cry if Price of Progress dealt 12 to someone. Like the games get dragged out so long.
Yeah.
I don't think you could force like we don't have Wasteland obviously, right? So
Yeah.
like things are different, but like I thought Barbarian Ring would have helped Burn more than it
Totally,
did. Like
yeah.
I really did, but I was
Another
wrong on
shock
that.
just on a land, like right? Because like burn suffers
Yeah.
when it's
Top deck mode,
when
yeah.
it like floods out, right?
Yeah.
So
I will say it's better than the fiery islets they usually run, but obviously not the sunbaked canyons. But yeah,
Wow, all right, both
Well-
players land pass.
well, one
Nicholas-
land pass is way worse than the other.
Yes.
So this Thought Scour was not beneficial, but perhaps with a fetch, you won't be able to play a Murktide turn 2, unfortunately, on this one. But you may be
Yeah.
able to just play a frog or pass. Yeah. Okay. So here we are.
And honestly, this has got to be one of the best things to happen if you're on Froculus, where your energy players doesn't play a 1-drop.
Yeah.
You're right.
And on
you're
the
on
draw.
the play.
Yeah.
They're in the draw. They have no 1-drop. You're like, thank God. Counterspell has text.
Yeah.
I get to actually
Yeah.
play this card.
Yeah.
You know, it's not gonna rot in my hand the
Yeah.
entire game.
Yeah.
Because I'm too busy answering things in play. Right.
Yeah, usually these games now come down to a flood screw situation where
Yes.
where someone will be constricted, and with Robert bidding another Windswept Heath, I see the potential fear for being flooded.
Yeah, because what's Robert bringing here? Ghost Vacuum, maybe. Showdown of the Skulls is pretty cute.
You don't need to bring
Purge,
much.
I guess.
I would bring Ghost Vacuum and Showdown and just play my game.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even think about anything else.
yeah. You don't need Molten Rain or Wear Tear. That's
No,
for sure.
you don't need Blood Moon, Molten Rain.
No.
You don't need Deafening Silence. You don't need Orm's Chant. You don't need Celestial Purge. Meh.
Yeah,
I
mean, the matchup is already in your favor.
Absolutely.
You don't need a big cyber plan to like really slam dunk this
I think
one.
I would have trimmed in this situation just like one Goblin Bombardment, maybe 2.
Yeah.
And then just kept everything else as a relevant threat. Like, I know Goblin Bombardment has a lot of good text,
Yes.
and the blue-black deck can't answer it.
Yes.
But
you
if the
will
blue-black
lose
deck...
by drawing dead.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly it.
That
I
is
just,
how
I
you
just,
lose.
I just don't believe that there's a situation where you want to have 2 bombardments in your hand.
Yes.
You just don't want that.
Yes. Right? Like, worrying about if your first one gets countered to on the second one is the wrong way to approach the match.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right? And turn 2, again, nothing from Robert. What was his key? He's played 2 lands and passed the turn.
One of them is Arena
Oh.
of Glory. Well, I hope there's a discharge.
And there's Harbinger. Flash and Felia.
That is-
okay. That's not bad, actually. he
Yeah.
gets to flash
Blink.
out the Harbinger for the turn
Yeah.
and hope to, I don't know, have a Flage or something, I guess.
But the Flage
or
deck doesn't hit it because
work.
it's
He's got to have
blinked.
instant speed something
Yeah.
before it slips back in on the instant.
Yeah.
This is a very weird board state right here.
So I'm surprised Harbinger is in.
Me
I'm
too.
actually very surprised Harbinger
Me
is in.
too.
The deck that runs multiple Blood Moons and multiple Molten Rains is
Yeah,
getting
right.
Harbingered out.
Right, they're playing their own moon effect.
This whole tournament has been a game of chicken with these cards. Like, like remember round 1 when we had Storm,
Yeah.
and it's just like, oh yeah, I could ritual into Blood Moon turn 2, and we're like people are just ballsy this tournament.
Yeah.
Like, they don't want
it feels
the opponent.
like it feels like these are lines that you feel like they're not that good against good players. Right?
I don't know if it's good
figure it
against
out.
or bad against good players, but all I know is that it takes some gusto to be like, yeah, your 2-color deck versus my 2-color mana denial deck. Let's go. Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
mean, now I'm expecting Robert to play Blood Moon at some point.
Well, I want to see Fable the Mirror Breaker if I'm Robert.
Yes,
I want to see
the
Fable.
treasure.
Yeah,
The treasure is huge.
I want to see Fable. I want to see
Alright.
basic planes, land Fable.
There's the planes. All right. And just like that, who gives a shit with this Harbinger anymore? You know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, if I see Fable the Mirror Breaker, I'm ecstatic.
yeah. Yeah, Harbinger just floating in the void. 2 mana, a Johnny? Voice of Victory. Ghost Vacuum. Okay. Eat something.
There must have been an important mill down there. Oh, no, okay, just a
Deluge,
toxic.
sure.
Rage.
Yeah, just an instant resource.
Just to stop the Murktide.
Yeah, yeah. Also, not much point in putting the Deluge under the vacuum, right? It doesn't have any
Yeah.
text under there. You can put it in a separate exile pile. But yeah, Voice of Victory, this is going to be one of its better matchups. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, it turns off all your opponent's counter spells.
Yeah,
Great.
absolutely, yeah.
And whenever it gets to your turn, you're like, sweet, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
All right, which has always been the best text on Teferi Time Raveler, so being able to just say, oh, my turn, I can do whatever I want.
Absolutely, yeah.
You get to sit there and watch me do whatever I want.
Well, here's an attack.
Block with the 1/3. Nicholas is like, huh? I thought that was
Opens
a
it up to
1/2.
Bowmaster, though.
Oh, got blown
Yeah.
out by the
Yeah.
bowman.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. Lured Robert into the trap.
Yeah.
Not a mistake you make too often, but every once in a while.
I'd be playing Murktide if I was Nicholas.
Yeah. Because, I mean, it's going to be hard to outpace the vacuum, honestly.
Yeah.
You got to, like, rip some Thought Scours or something to get ahead of it, but this is a very interesting keep for Robert.
So what do you
honestly.
do now? Do you just blink the Orcus
token?
Bowmaster token? Or do you give your opponent access to all your fatal pushes when you blink this Harbinger now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. So
Secret fatal
to me,
push, yeah.
So to me, you're blinking out.
The token,
You're either
yeah.
blinking out your own Ghost Vacuum to put a 1/1 counter on the Thalia,
Yeah.
or you're just blinking out the token and then you're just attacking for 2 damage through the 1/1.
Yeah, I think I'm interested in just deleting the token.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, you don't really draw any cards, so you're effectively
Yeah.
forcing a chump block a little bit.
Yeah.
Thinking real hard about this one. Must be considering getting rid of the Harbinger if he has, like,
Yeah, I
some
think the real
red
decision is
card.
actually between the Orcish Army token and the Ghost Vacuum to double degenerately take out cards out of the graveyard. I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think it could really be anything else at this point.
'Cause,
But
yeah,
once again,
I mean,
you're supposed to make your opponent have a decision and potentially make a wrong one instead of
Yes.
giving your opponent no decision. So Robert has to attack here.
Because, yeah, blinking out the Bowmaster, or the Bowmaster
Yeah.
token, yeah, basically just gets in for 2 damage here. Right, it's not the most impactful play. Like, yeah, I guess you can't blink out Vacuum because then he's double blocks. Maybe that's a fine trade for you, but right now it's your only threat and the only, like, soft answer to Harbinger. So maybe he values it pretty high in this case to keep it around. Yeah, Vacuum up Spell Pierce or something, yeah. Thought Scour, yum, yum, yum.
Playing around Force of Negation at this point.
Yeah, making him tap out for it if he wants to stop the spell snare. But also very risky because if Nicholas
snare
had
the whole
like
time.
fatal push or
Yeah.
something, like he just pushes and he kills
Yeah.
the thing and counters your spell, right?
Yeah.
Like so bad. I've been on the receiving end of Thraber Charm blowouts, and it's real bad.
Yeah. Another Thought Scour. Consider Bloodstain, Meyer. What did he draw?
All right, he needs a land here to cast Murktide. Won't be the biggest Murktide, but it'll be something. Because I do believe that black and white land is a swamp.
Yeah, I believe one's a swamp.
Yeah,
one's an
because the other
island.
one you can pretty clearly see
Yeah.
the island.
Oh,
water
you can
drop.
clearly see it? That's great.
Yeah.
I can't.
No, you can't see the little water thing there. You can clearly, Peter.
I
you
can clearly see black and white. And it doesn't really help with this guy's playmat. Someone has to tell. You can't fetch? Can't fetch. Your own harbinger.
There you go. Yeah,
There you go.
that's
an
allowed.
island. That Bloodstained Mire is water.
Yeah, good island.
There you go.
All right, just straight up Oculus. All right, now I think Nicholas is firmly in the lead here.
Well, one side has creatures, the other does not.
Yeah. This is what we're talking about where, yeah, like when Froculus wins, like it looks like how could this deck ever lose?
Yes, but yeah.
Right? You're like, damn, dude, like
It's one of these
this guy's locked out of the game.
Yeah, it's one of these situations where it's just like, oh, it wins, but it wins so hard.
Yes.
You think the matchup is like in
How
favor.
could they
but
lose anything?
Yeah,
How
but
could
it's
they
not.
ever lose?
It's not. The Boros Energy player had just as equally a powerful board state when they were on the play.
Yes.
Just
yes. It really is sometimes a play draw turn of events there for sure. And now Robert's stuck. He can throw the Felia under the bus and unlock his mana. I think it's incredibly risky to try to blink out the manifest token
Yeah.
in case it is a creature or like a permanent of any type.
yeah.
And you've got no red mana, so what are the plays here?
What does Philia blink?
All right, so
All
he's
right.
going to unlock the mana for a turn. We'll see
Yeah.
if Felia lives to see the end of the turn, though. I'm going to block the manifest. Not going to fall into discharge territory. Oh, so it was a permanent. The hydroelectric specimen.
Flage?
Post-combat Flage. I mean, what does that do, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Flage. Shoot Bowmaster. I mean, I guess. So yeah, I guess he was trying to bait the block with Oculus and then finish
Yeah.
off with Flage. Eat Spell Pierce. Yeah, those other cards.
I wouldn't be too concerned about Bowmaster's reanimating
Unearth,
either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Unearth Bowmaster. Yeah, you got it. And now still.
Robert has a mitt of 4 cards at least, but only 3 lands, one of them being a plains and the other 2 being islands, unfortunately.
Yeah. Robert doing a really poor impression of blue light control here.
Yeah.
Another one. Just to be really
Well,
sure.
I don't know if there's a basic plains and a Wrath of the Skies coming up off the top, but
He'll need he'll need that and another land to stay in this game. Nicholas, though,
even though there's a
missing-
manifest miss trigger,
yeah, misses manifest trigger.
I don't think it matters.
Oh, he's gonna try and save
Are they
it.
going to allow him to get it? Yeah. It just doesn't matter.
He's like, okay, fine, you win.
Yeah.
My only chance was for you to not remember your trigger, and you remembered it, so it's fine. All right, well, it's 1-1 now.
That's where you were, because when I snapped you, I went off for pretzels and like.
1-1. And I mean, the name of the game so far has been Beyond the Play. win the
Established
game.
board state.
Yes.
Yeah. Established board state, win the game.
Yes. Force your opponent to react,
Yeah.
and if they can't react enough times, then you win.
Yeah, so the Boros player actually only has 2 plains, 1 mountain.
Okay, so a little light on the basics.
3 Arena of Glory.
Okay.
12 fetches.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that maybe Robert lost that game on the mulligan. I feel like his opener was just like way too slow. Right, like he opened with
He had
Thalia.
very impressive 2-drops, but they weren't sequentially good.
No.
Right? Like
Individually, they look pretty
yes,
good,
Yeah,
but-
having Felia and Voice, both good.
Yeah.
Ghost Vacuum, good.
Yes.
But in that order, not good. Right? Like I think that was essentially it. It's like your best way to beat Froculus is by going underneath, but establishing such power and toughness that Toxic Deluge doesn't blow you out.
Yes. Right, like when we're talking about a deck that plays 11 1-drops, like I feel like you gotta have a 1-drop.
Yeah, see, to me,
Especially in this
in
matchup.
my perspective, in my experience by playing Boros,
Yeah.
Thalia made a lot of sense when you were playing multiple 3-drops that had ETB effects.
Yes,
Like
Seasoned Pyromancer.
the Seasoned Pyromancer and the Ranger Captain of Eos. But when you don't have that, you're on 12 1-drops. And I think very specifically in this game here, that Thalia would have been a lot more impressive as a Ragavan.
Yes.
Like just dramatically more impressive. You would have been able to get out of the Blood Moon lock. You would have forced your opponent to like deal with the Ocelot Pride or whatever. It's like just stuff.
Right.
You know
Or
what
if
I
it
mean?
was just like in a Johnny or
just a 1-drop because
Or
you could
just a
sequence.
1-drop,
So you could
1-drop or a
sequence.
2-drop,
You could
yeah.
sequence the Ragavan into the Voice.
Yes.
Right. Like that's all that mattered. Is
Yeah.
just the amount of mana you've lost. And Boros is a deck that generally capitalizes on tapping out every turn, which is why its top end choice is Flage.
Yes.
Like it gives it the option. Like Flage isn't just good because it's red and white and this is a red and white deck.
yeah.
Flage is good in this deck because it gives the Boros deck consistent pressure even to the mid to late game.
Yes.
And it's a card in the graveyard versus a card off the top. It just all doesn't matter. It gives the Boros players something to do with their mana. If the Boros player is not using their mana, they are not winning. They're not winning. They're not progressing board
They need
state.
to be
They're not a
putting their
good control
cardboard
deck.
into play
Yes.
every turn.
Yes.
If you're taking turns off to like be reactive and
Yeah.
stuff, you're probably
You're not
losing.
winning.
No.
It's just like if I look at an opening hand when I play Boros, and I see like 2 1-drops and then like and like 1 3-drop and like 4 lands, I'm close to mulliganing it.
Yes.
Like only being able to play a 1-drop, then maybe another 1-drop, and then it's like if he counters my 3-drop, I'm dead. 1 Fatal Push, 1 counterspell, I'm not in this game.
Yeah.
It's not close.
Right? Like the best games out of Boros is when it plays like it like barfs their hand out, plays a bunch of things on curve of like 1-drop, 2-drop, 1-drop, then 2-drop,
Yeah.
same turn kind of thing, and then all that happens.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, opponent's like, here's my board wipe, I'm stabilized, and then you play Flage.
Yeah.
Like, well, fuck, their graveyard's full because I just
Yeah.
wiped their board. Like,
Yeah.
you know, now I gotta deal with this after I just dealt with everything else
Yeah.
on top of it. And so if you're not creating those board states, Boros Energy looks kind of bad.
Yeah.
Right? It looks like a really old school white meanie list where you're just kind of playing guys and pass the turn.
Yeah. Well, it looks like this is a mulligan? Is that what this is?
Yeah, this looks like a mulligan from the Froculus side. So yeah, and so the downside for Nicholas here is that there's a lot of good hands that Robert can create out of this deck, where he just plays with the 1-drops, 2-drops, whatever.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of good hands that Froculus creates. Often.
No, yeah, like I said, your answers really have to line up from
Yes,
the Froculus side.
yeah,
like
they really do.
Like I'm looking for 2
gotta
fatal pushes,
have
1
the,
spell
like-
snare.
yeah.
Like realistically, if I had 3 lands, 2 fatal push, 1 spell snare, the best thing.
you're
That's the
winning.
best 6 I can ask
Yeah.
for. Yeah, like. Because a threat will eventually come, I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah.
Like it's just, but I need those 3 draw steps to even look at that potential.
Yes.
And we just have a hard,
All right,
elegant
Surveil
parlor.
land does feel bad there.
Yeah. But if we can match it up with multiple 2-drops, perhaps there's a way to salvage this aggression.
Yeah, so this really comes down to, effective aggressive 2-drop here, and if Nicholas has a spell snare or not.
Yeah.
Because, if Robert, resolves Voice of Victory,
Yeah.
it's already looking pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah, forcing your opponent to start playing forcing the blue-black instant speed deck to start playing at sorcery speed is
Pretty good.
pretty damning. Yeah.
Pretty strong. Pretty strong.
So,
All right,
we're,
picks
so we're,
up basic mountain, playing
Yeah.
around Harbinger of the Seas, which I think Nicholas did keep in his hand, which I think a lot of players sometimes fall into this trap where if they
Yeah.
do bring in the like moon effect game 1,
yeah.
and then it works,
Yeah.
they value it maybe a little too high
Oh, yeah.
in the follow-up game.
So it's not a spell snare, so the best thing we can hope for is a push.
yeah.
Push Psychic Frog is respectable, at least here.
Yes, that's an all right opener. I
But that fetching that red mountain to me means that Robert is signifying that there is a galvanic discharge.
yes.
So you're
Yeah,
your
why
risk.
would you need to hold up red?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, exactly.
In basic land form.
So you're holding up
So-
galvanic discharge. There's no lightning bolts in the list. There's 2 static prison, 4 discharge, 2 Thraben charm, 3 bombardment.
Right? Yeah. So if he was on Prisoner Charm, you would expect him to
Yeah.
pull out a Plains,
Yeah.
not the Mountaineer.
Yeah.
But Mountain heavily telegraphs that it's probably discharge. So yeah, surveils away a land. So no push actually, just fetch surveil. Yeah, and so
Is this a go?
these are the hands I
Ooh.
don't like where you're in the control match. They've put, 3 power into play, whatever it is, and you're kind of forced in or
Yeah,
priced
this
into
is a
holding
go.
a counterspell.
This is a go.
Right? I don't like having to hold up counterspell here and still take like 3 and not deal.
So
with
I would
right?
attack obviously, and then like if you have
Yes.
a follow up spell just like the Goblin Bombardment, I would lead with that first.
Yes. Right, and it's
Because
like
bombardment on this board state is just lights out.
Yes. Right, and it's like you said, where like you have to give your opponent the most opportunity to sneaky stakes.
Yeah.
And so by taking actions and attacking first,
Yeah.
you can maybe bait out like, oh, remove a spell on the thing.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, now maybe you don't have counterspell, I can play.
Season Pyromancer, Fabled Mirrorbreaker,
Yes.
etc.
Yes.
Yeah. I wouldn't have even played the land personally. I wouldn't have even given that information.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
These are minor percentage points.
Minor
Sometimes
things.
they matter, sometimes
Yeah.
they don't.
Yeah.
So, right, and this is the exact scenario too, where like, if Robert just fetches planes here, mulliganing to a hand with Harbinger of the Seas, like, what does that do now?
Yeah.
Nothing?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like this situation of the balls, like between like all these players, is just like I'm gonna try and screw over another 2-color deck. It's like there's not usually a strategy you employ, but when it's blind
that
deck
effective,
list,
yes.
you're trying to get an edge, right? Like it's just like I'm trying to do this thing where you expect the unexpected, right? So yeah, here I would just play Fable. Oh, that's a Season Pyromancer. Just
Pyro.
equally as effective to draw a counterspell.
Yeah, so there's counterspell.
Yeah.
But again, I mean,
In this situation, you're happy,
Yeah.
but you're also slightly sad just because this is the Froculus deck. It's not the regular Murktide deck.
yes.
And you're able to, well, especially with an Oculus in the bin, you are
right.
able to
Show
establish
us
a board
Unearth.
state very quickly.
I think you about a top deck one? Unearth you would be very good.
Unearth here would be almost back-breaking. I don't know how there's a decision to be made.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, we're unearthing Oculus, baby.
Okay, we're back.
And unlike Helping Hands, it comes into play untapped and blocks.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Some fun trivia from our standard
Yeah,
friends over
yeah.
on Entity Arena, huh?
Yeah.
So interesting is that he opted to put Deluge in the bin.
Yes.
So it makes me believe that this card is good.
I would say the Deluge in the bin is just technically correct just because of Murktide region.
Okay.
Yeah. If there was an instant sorcery versus a non-instant sorcery, I don't think it just matters.
Yeah.
You just put the instant sorcery in the bin.
Yes. All right. Spell Pierce doesn't do it here, but this does eat the Oculus.
Well, with only 2 energy, he only has it available for 2 turns.
2 turns.
Because he did it pre-combat, correct? So
Yes.
does he not have to pay the energy?
No, it's at the beginning of your first main phase.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So yeah, thankfully you can't get got by your own static version that way. Here comes Flage. You don't care about this as Nicholas, right? You're like,
No.
Yeah, you shoot the manifest, whatever. And what did he get? It was a land. It was a land. And then now takes another 3. So bad news is not really the colors to deal with static person.
Right.
Good news is still no energy creator.
Yeah.
So
Bins Unearth, Bins Fatal Push.
would have liked to draw those maybe. But beggars can't be choosers, I guess.
Well, with Robert with only 2 cards in hand, I wouldn't be fearful of just slamming Murktide in the situation.
Yes.
Yeah, if you did have it, I would just start playing Murktide and start trying to turn the clock as effectively as possible, because the Robert's best attack would be only attack with the cat token. You're obviously not going to do it.
Right.
Except the 2, deal the 8, right? Like, yeah.
Especially because the previous turn, right, all he did was static prison and then just flayed you in the face.
Yes.
Right? And it's like, okay, if you had any other reasonable way to advance your board state, you would have done that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have just,
Yeah.
3 mana helix to me.
We just see a pass from Nicholas. So what's in the hand? Like,
Remembering the trigger.
Yeah. So Robert's
It's
down
got
to
to
1
be
energy.
reactive.
Yeah.
But it can't be removal because otherwise something would have died
I see
by now.
Ragavan. I see Ragavan.
Dash Ragavan is pretty good here. All right, just swing for 3.
Waiting
make
to see what the
Nicholas-
Bowmaster says.
Is this the
There we
better
go.
try? Oh, it's
Yeah.
Bowmaster. Okay. So yeah, shoot this, and then block this.
Respectable.
Interesting. I think I would have blocked the cat as well with the,
Well,
the
now
Bowmaster
I actually
token.
think you just flashback Flage.
Yeah. No, totally.
Yeah. Now that you have priority once again, I'm flashing back Flage. I'm not even thinking twice. Yeah.
That's.
Find your second planes. Play Ragavan, play Flage, win the game.
That's a pretty good. That's a pretty good one. Yeah. Yeah. So one of his cards in hand is still Harbinger, and again, super dead here. Super
Actually,
dead
it's
card.
just detrimental towards what Nicholas is
Yeah,
trying
it's
to do is,
definitely bad.
is optimize all of his black mana to remove all these creatures.
Yeah.
But now that he's going to deploy a bigger board state, that card, like Flage, is essentially just mind rotting his opponent right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seasoned Pyromancer's still in the bin to keep to make 2 elemental tokens in the
Nice.
future. And I can foresee another Ragavan just coming down, increasing the board state.
All right.
Or it's an Ocelot Pride and a Ragavan in the hand then.
Yeah.
Perfect, yeah.
So the downside here is that Nicholas is still a turn away from getting his Oculus
Well,
back.
he now has 10 permanents, so that's City's Blessing. Correct. Yeah, no, actually, this is better. This is better.
11.
Ocelot Pride is better.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be 9 permanents. My bad. That land came in and changed everything. Gained life. There you go.
I
Had
don't know
another
this
token.
board state now. It's
Yeah.
out of, like, Robert started this turn with a cat token.
Yeah. And remember how only 2 turns ago that Static Prison took out an Oculus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Can you make a large enough Murktide? That
Yeah.
looks like the plan.
Yeah. I think Murktide had to come down the turn prior.
Yeah.
Bowmasters was not that effective.
Again, with the Bowmasters, like, I would have blocked the cat token.
Yeah.
Right? Just clear the
Yeah.
board completely. You take
Yeah.
2 less damage.
Yeah.
1 less threat in play. Right? Because currently he has to block Flage.
Yeah.
Right? Which means that Murktide dies.
Yeah.
And then he's still taking 5 damage.
Yeah.
It's.
And that's not without the Dash Ragavan that we know of in the hand.
Yeah, here comes Monkey. Monkey? The one would have. Oh, yeah, alright. We sped up. Monkey!
Yeah.
Alright, fetching. There's still some action
Fetching
left.
is very scary here. Fetching for
Shock.
black is way scary.
Fetch shock.
Is this counterspell?
I guess. I mean, you kind of have to, right?
Well, he had a Bloodstained Mire. So he couldn't find a basic island, but he also chose not to find a basic swamp.
Yeah.
It has
It
to be
is counterspell. You have to counter the Dash Ragavan.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's so bad. Another card? Draven Charm kill this?
Duh.
You can counter it up. That's board damage.
Yeah, that's double what that is.
And handshake. Wow.
How crazy was that turnaround? How crazy did it look that Nicholas had it with that early Oculus, and now all of a sudden, like, Robert with his Boros just, like, just turned around. And that was a turn one elegant parlor thing. So, again, that type of situation, after turn one, Robert tapped out every turn.
Yes.
Wasn't even close.
Yes.
If Robert keeps tapping out, game's in his favor.
Yes.
Right? The second
You just jam.
Nicholas wasted 4 mana in those 5 turns.
Yeah.
That's it. That's like how much mana efficacy are you behind in that situation?
You can count how much
right?
mana each player spent.
That's
and
why he had to play Murktide that turn faster instead of just Orcish Bowmaster. You're not going to save any life. Your life total doesn't matter if the board state's in your favor.
Yeah.
Play the Dargon, swing with Dargon.
Yeah.
Like, you just can't accept any other favor. Like, even if he decided to block the cat token with the Murktide and the Ajani flipped, you're still winning.
Yes.
Because then you're attacking the Ajani later.
Yes.
Like, he has to establish that board state. Like, it just has to happen.
Yeah.
Like,
Right. And maybe the Murktide a turn earlier delays Robert's pressure a turn later, and then you get Oculus back. Right?
So
Because they had no way to generate energy out of all those cards.
Yeah, so this is half the reason why the blue-black Froculus decks and all of those types of decks of the blue-black variety with Psychic Frog that are tempo-based, they've generally had to start splashing white for pest control.
Right.
Just because it's more of an efficient card.
Yes.
Right? Like Toxic Deluge is great, but man, if I just paid 3 life anyway, I might as well just pay 2 mana instead of 3.
Yes.
Right? So like when it comes to these situations with that deck, like you have to be very adamant about like what you're exactly doing.
Yeah.
I think this is an example as to why engineered explosives and dress down is just strictly better. Like, I would rather play a dress down against an Ajani, not give them the cat token, right, and draw a card, instead of just being like, I have a Toxic Deluge now, and it's like a turn later. Like, that turn later's too late.
Yeah.
Like if you think about how crazy a card like Toxic Deluge is, and it's like, well, how come no one can beat Boros? It's like, because this card's too slow.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
And the fact that it does deal damage to you on like a turn too late is what kind of tips the scale, where it's like, if I do this, Flage kills me.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So I can't really afford it. So I either do it and I lose to Flage, or I don't do it and I lose to the board.
Yeah, the Boros deck is just too effective at what it's doing.
Yeah.
It's just not close.
Yeah.
Like, and the fact that the best 3 mana Black Sweeper in the format can't do anything against it should tell you that like the strategy is wrong. Like, we want Stern Scoldings. We don't have any in our list, unfortunately.
No.
Like, we have Bitter Triumph, which is sort of cool because it helps you get a reanimate target out. But like, I think this is a perfect example as to how bad a Graveyard Trespasser would have been this whole game. It's just like, could you imagine drawing Trespasser after he played the Flage?
Yeah.
Could you imagine him playing Thraben Charb on Trespasser, discarding Flage, then untapping, casting Flage a turn faster?
Yeah.
Like it just, I think Trespasser is like what, I understand why people play it because the coin flip makes it look like it's the whole opposite. But the thing is that's like, the Oculus deck needs to be proactive more than reactive compared to the other blue-black Murktide decks.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, is that like,
yeah,
the nature of how the deck is built, I feel like makes players want to play this slow kind of control-y game.
Yeah.
Which I think is incorrect.
Yes, it needs to be faster, it needs to be more proactive.
Yes.
And that's why I'm a huge
You gotta
fan
be
of
more
Kiora.
aggressive and less afraid of what your opponent's doing.
Yes, I'm so...
You gotta like meet their threat with your threat.
Yes.
Because your threats are often better.
Yes, your threats are being dark ritualed, and theirs aren't.
Yes.
So like that's why I'm way more in favor of a card like Kiora.
Yeah.
It's more proactive, more aggressive, and then if you untap with it, you're winning.
Yeah.
I don't think I can ever say that about Graveyard Trespasser.
Yeah.
Trespasser says, well, I'm not losing.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean you're winning.
Yes.
Right? Like, it's like, everyone's like, oh, I need to beat combo decks faster. I was like, how about putting an 8/8 on turn 2?
Yeah.
Like,
that's pretty fast.
Yeah. Like, it's just like...
That's pretty good.
The amount of like thought scours, it just like delves into the whole same strategy, or turn 3 specifically. But like, like it's just, okay, I attack with my 3 power creature, I have 7 cards in the graveyard because I'm a crazy suicidal thought scour player, and then all of a sudden it's like I have an 8/8. It's like, well, how'd this happen?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
and I looted.
Yes, and you crafted your hand in order to protect the queen on their threats.
Yes.
Like I said,
Yes.
I
Or
think,
you set up for another reanimate the next turn.
right. I think these Oculus decks are just doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to say like Kiora would have won the game against Boros.
No.
But I just think like there's a philosophy about these blue-black Oculus decks, and I think they're doing it the wrong way.
Yeah.
I do. Other than that, I think a lot of the spells in the deck are very cool and correct.
Yeah.
Like I think you should be running for a counter spell. You just sort of need to. Two
Yeah.
considers to help out with the thought scours is great. I think a combination of snare, pierce, and force is all correct.
Yes.
I think that's all in the realm of correct. I just think cards like Harbinger of the Seas is actually just too damn slow.
Yeah, it is. And it also just is dead in a lot of matches.
Yes, and
right?
when it is effective, then it's effective in a restricted sense, and then it should be in the sideboard.
Yes.
Like we saw it there. It's like, oh, I had a Harbinger, but my opponent has 3 basics out. It's like you can only play gotcha so many times. It's like, there's an Uno reverse card in this format, right? Like
Yeah.
it's just it's how all these things play out.
And much like a lot of other blue decks, right? You have to minimize your dead draws because blue decks
Absolutely.
inherently have a lot of dead
Yes.
draws where you're drawing a counter spell on a board where you need a lightning bolt, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And so adding Harbinger on top of like spell snare, spell pierce, counter spell, right? Like unearth with like nothing in the yard, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of wrong half of the deck here that you could draw
Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
you're just stuck with.
Yeah.
When Harbinger Disease could be an action card
Yeah.
that maybe gets rid of the dead cards, like Kiora, right? Where you just
see, in my opinion, like if I was just to change the threat base, like if I had to have my own like paintbrush on this deck, I would up the Murktide count to 4, and I would just put 2 Kioras in.
Yeah.
And I would just be like suicidal. I would just go straight
Go
suicidal.
in.
Yeah. And I would even be brazen enough to be like, I'll put the Thoughtseize in the sideboard or just not play them at all.
Yes.
And I would just play another Force of Negation and then another Consider, perhaps, and just go turbo. Or like play a Dismember over the Force of Negation, just like a 5th removal spell.
Yeah, these decks I feel like need to play more like the early versions of blue to red Murktide. Where you're just like DRC swinging. Like you're turning on as fast as possible, getting in the air, right? You're dashing Ragavan, you're clearing the field, you're playing the Murktide, like your pedal is on the metal the entire game.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
You're not sitting back and playing the 1-for-1 game until you then slam Murktide and then hope that gets you there.
Yeah, I
like,
think
just end the game.
I think when you play Oculus, the taxation on black has to be so minimal.
Yes.
Like it's like, do I kill your guy or do I reanimate my guy? Needs to be like the only difficult decision points you put on your own mana base.
Yes.
Like when your decisions on your own mana base ends up becoming Unearth, Fatal Push, Thoughtseize, Psychic Frog, it's like you start to get like there's too many hands where you're locking yourself out of that black mana where it's just not that effective. It's like the damage has to be so much more significant to your opponent than you.
Yes.
So like to me, in this current metagame, like let's look at all the possible decks in the current metagame. Like you have Root Walla combo, and that's just essentially mono green / colorless.
Yeah.
You have Eldrazi Ramp, which is like Gruul, which they always have their own mana because they just play a Talisman. Like, and you're not countering every single Talisman in the world. You have blue-black decks, in all their spectrum. You have Boros decks. Like what decks are we trying to hose with Harbinger here?
Yeah, because even when it comes to the Gruul Eldrazi piles, like they're playing basic Forest Utopia Sprawl.
Yes.
What does Harbinger do against that? Nothing.
Yes, and that's why a lot of the Boros decks have adapted just plain Molten Rain and saying I'm going to take the base value out of this land destruction hit compared to anything else. It's why cards like Obsidian Charma and Blood Moon have absolutely fallen out of favor before the Urza Saga rule change, right? So like now that we have a difference between lore counters and sagas completing their chapters with the Final Fantasy expansion, like we're in a world now where like Harbinger of the Seas actually doesn't give tempo against decks like Amulet Titan or the Baskin Root Walla combo decks enough problems to be like, hey, if you play this land, you could lose it. It's now, hey, if you play this land, well, it'll a land.
Be there.
Yeah, it's not an issue, right? Like, in fact, sometimes it's beneficial because if they're in chapter 2, they're like, sure,
like fantastic.
Yeah, I'll just keep making constructs and you can beat that.
You've helped me actually.
Yes, yeah.
Because you on the blue-black deck can't beat 5-5, 6-6, 7-7,
Yeah.
8-8, and
Yeah.
return.
Yeah.
Like, you can't counter that. You
Yeah.
can't push the ball.
Yeah, the only high potential outlier that I see in this entire situation is that, like, if you were able to reanimate the Harbinger on turn 2 with a Spell Pierce Spell Snare Force Negation backup.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only thing that's actually super effective.
Yeah.
Yeah.